With its fabulous fashion, twisted sense of humour and thrilling fight scenes, Killing Eve is one of the nation's best-loved dramas.
Well, after returning to our screens a month early, the show has introduced a brand new character, the mysterious Russian gymnast, Dasha.
Oh, and Dame Harriet Walter, who plays Dasha, joins us now from her home in London. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. What a role, what a character she is. We don't know too much about her yet, but she has definitely come in and injected something new, hasn't she?
Yeah, I think we've all got an inner Dasha that we want to get out there. And I've been playing lots of decorous roles who behave well. So it's great to behave badly.
So you say that you don't think that she's necessarily evil or ruthless, which is a surprising thing to say, considering in a flashback she appeared to murder her teenage boyfriend in the 1970s.
Yes, I just don't think anybody's pure evil. I always think they think they're doing things for a good reason, and I think she thinks the world's got it in for her, and if she doesn't kill first, then she'll be killed. It's just her psychotic makeup.
So she's got quite a challenge on her hands here, because she wants Villanelle to sort of go back to work, and that's going to take some convincing, it seems.
Well, she's got ways around Villanelle that, for instance, Constantine doesn't have. She goes back further in her history. She's got more emotional bondage with her, and I think she thinks she can manipulate that. But she's not entirely successful, which is why you better stick with the series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the thing is with Dasha also is that she is she's very patriotic, isn't she? And she gets to go home if she succeeds here.
That's the deal. She's passionate about Russia as she remembers it, which was Soviet times when she worked for the KGB. And she may be in for a bit of a disappointment there. She thinks she's going to be welcomed on the streets as a national heroine, but I think they'll all have forgotten her by now. Yeah. But that's her motivation. If she can get Villanelle to do the job, her reward is she gets sent back to Russia.
However, Villanelle has a sticking point here, because the only reason she'll do it is if she gets to be a keeper.
Yeah, well, I'm humouring her.
Well, so I mean, we would watch the clip there, and that is it's a fabulous Russian accent. And so, is it true that you knew that you might, because I know you're a fan of the series, that you might be in line for a role when someone whispered in your ear, "How's your Russian?" Well,
actually, I didn't make that leap. I mean, I'd been following the show anyway, avidly, like a punter. And then I'd done an audition for something where I had to be Russian and speak Russian. And I have been studying Russian a bit. And my agent sort of rather sneakily said to me, "Do you happen to still have that tape when you put yourself on tape for this part? Because somebody might want you to play Russian." Well, I hadn't a clue. And then the next day, when you join Killing Eve's cast, no brainer.
Oh, my gosh, a complete no-brainer. I mean, it's praised for having a largely female crew. Working with Jodie, I mean, she is extraordinary in that role. How was that for you?
Well, it sounds a bit frivolous to say it was a laugh a minute. It was, we took our job seriously, but what's great about her is she can also muck about in between takes and, have a normal chat. And also we had quite constructive talks about how to play certain scenes, which bits worked and which didn't, which we needed a bit more, perhaps, leeway on the words or whatever. We cooperated well, we got on well, and it looks like we hate one another and we're fighting, but actually we had a great time.
It's such a great cast. Everyone is so brilliant playing it. Each role is so beautifully done, and different for you as well, because we're looking through some of your CV this morning. Lady Brockenhurst in Belgravia, Lady Shackleton in Downton Abbey, and then Lady Caroline in Succession. So quite nice to be someone. I mean, they all have their different characteristics, and we'll talk about Caroline in just a moment. But for you to play someone who, as you said at the beginning, is actually quite nasty.
It's very liberating, and I'm sure that's why the audience enjoy watching this sort of, I mean, I think there's a lot of real sort of gory, very gritty. This is very much sort of fantasy murder. They're not real. We kind of laugh at the bad behaviour, even though they get quite nasty. It's not to be taken too seriously in that way. And so, yeah, you feel quite, you feel quite liberated to be naughty. And after sitting in corsets, sipping cups of tea, it's great.
And so, I mean, Succession is another one of my favourite shows. It's incredible. Lady Caroline in that. You were a fan of that show before going into that as well. So what was that like?
Well, it is very schizophrenic when you sort of meet your family, how do you do? I'm your mother,
Yeah.
And they've already kind of bonded and knitted together and sort of formed a TV screen family. I go back with Brian Cox. I've known him for years, so that was that worked all right, although we haven't had many scenes together. And the others were sort of completely hello, how do you do's. But I'd only watched the first episode, the pilot, and I thought, this is astonishing writing. Why can't we write like that in England? And then I learned that all the writers were English, or British. So it's really the system of writing rather than the individual writers that makes that work so stupendously, but also the genius of Jesse Armstrong and his team.
Again, it's everything is so perfectly placed in it, and we were all waiting because we had Brian on the other day, and he was, and this is before the wheels fell off the world, that they were looking forward to filming and the schedule. So what do you think is going to happen there? Obviously, it'll be delayed, but do you think the writers, because they're so skilled, will they start to include some of where we are going now?
Well, the thing is, I think Jesse Armstrong has got that sort of, I just don't understand his mind. It's like a genius mind. And I think that he will have taken on board because he writes pretty quickly. It's kind of, the stories kind of bend and twist quite agilely. It's not like he's laid it all down and before we start. So, I mean, he's got the basic where it's going, but I'm sure that this whole COVID pandemic will alter a lot of writers' subject matter and will put us all into perspective, particularly if you're dealing with the Roy family, who are right up there making masses of money.
Imagine them in lockdown together.
Going to happen to their empire. They're going to try and control the story, or I can't think Jesse's not going to make use of that whole atmosphere. But as to when it will get started again, partly because he'll be writing, I'm sure, and partly because there'll be a logjam of things that were sort of on hiatus that will all suddenly get into a bottleneck of production, and
well, fingers crossed it doesn't take too long for us all to get back to that place. Harriet, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Killing Eve, Sundays at 9:15 on BBC One, or of course the new episodes are on iPlayer every Monday from 6 a.m. And thank you.
Thank you. Look after yourself.
Thank you.
Stay well.
Bye-bye. Bye.